Hello, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to learn about some interesting things. And are you ready to learn about data analytics and business intelligence? So, let's start our demo video. So, today we are going to learn about new things. The whole topic is all about how Power BI and tools like Power BI, BI intelligence, like the tools, how the BI intelligence tools actually interpret the data faster, right? Have you ever thought about how exactly the mechanism happens behind the scenes, where when you drag and drop something in Power BI, it quickly generates a chart, graph, right, report and everything, and then you can actually, push that reports and dashboard, deploy them on the cloud, and the end users are able to load it faster as well. So how exactly this thing happens? So let's try to understand that today, and let's focus on the topic more. Okay, so before we start our session today, I want to show you something. Okay, today there is a lot of panic around the IT industry, uh, which is valid, and I want you to look at one picture, right? So let's go. So this picture, just look at each point and understand how important it is to learn data analytics these days, right? Whatever we are doing, it is from the back end, right? Front end can be easily adaptable, easily replaceable by AI. But back end, if you're good with back end things and businesses and understanding the business analytics and understanding the BI, business intelligence, you're on the good spot. At least for next 25 years, you are not going to get replaced, right? The jobs are going to be more and more, and you're not going to be replaced easily because no AI can actually interpret business better than a human, because every business needs different types of customized dashboards and reports. They rely on various complex business logics. So one AI cannot, replace your job. That is for sure. And each point actually proves that, right? Business tools stay essential because every business has unique needs that AI alone cannot fully address. Executives rely on dashboards for visual insights, which BI tools provide better than standalone AI. What does it mean? Executives, the MBA guys who are at, who is taking business decisions constantly, who is taking business decisions consistently each and every day, they rely on factual data. And who is going to provide the insights to these businesses to grow in ever changing, ever changing situations that are happening in the data industry right now and business industry right now. So every business requires their own customized dashboards, their own customized reports. So your job is going to stay there. And compliance and data governance are handled better through BI platforms. What does this point mean? Compliance and the data governance, these are the key pillars. These are one of the most important pillars for any organization. Compliance is nothing but, if there are certain rules and policies for an organization, and if those policies and rules are being followed properly, so how do you look at those parameters? How do you look at those policies are being followed properly internally and externally? So that makes a huge difference. And also, what is data governance? Data governance is all about how a company's data is being processed. Is it processed, as per the policies? Again, there are more policies that are coming out. For example, in UK, there is a GDPR law. So what exactly GDPR states? It The GDPR branch comes under the data governance, right? Data governance and compliance. So GDPR has few parameters to it, and every business has to follow that. For example, it has to, a company, if it is collecting data, it has to effectively identify what is personal information, and it should never ever disclose that information to outside world without the permission of actually the person whose data they have collected. And also, they have to minimize the data, right? In the organization, they have to give access to particular people to look at particular piece of information. N- like, they can't give whole information access to one person. So that is called data governance, right? So data governance is all about making sure your data is processed, whatever the data that company has is processed properly and is secure, is handled securely. right? That is very important. And then these two things can do better through BI, because BI provides security management, and right now you can do anything on cloud on granular levels, right? So you have a business has whole complete security control over their data, and how the data can represent internally and externally. So it again implies that AI cannot actually do that standalone, right? AI depends on structured data, right, which is prepared through BI and data engineering process. So, what does it mean? AI depends on structured data. That means, where does the structured data come from? Structured data is coming from the engineers, the data engineers, that who actually create the transformations and everything. As I told you in the previous session, that uh, data engineers use SSIS, and then they will connect that SSIS to staging server, and then through that they will create all the transformation, that business logics and everything they implement, and then they store it in the data warehouse. So that cannot be done using AI as of now. So it is very important. Why I'm trying to tell you all of this is because if you are skilled in if you are skilled in data analytics and business intelligence, your job is solid. You're not going to be replaced for next 25 years, at least for next 25 years. And thereafter, maybe, I'm still not sure how AI can actually implement complex business logics, because every business requires a different their own different reports and dashboards. So having said that, let's move on to our topic today. So today our topic is all about VertiPaq engine, columnar database, tabular database, and table scanning and indexing, and a little bit about data warehouses. Okay, so today we are going to also understand how exactly the data compression happens. So for example, let's say the main point we are going to discuss today is, for example, you have taken Power BI, right? You're using Power BI and you have connected it to columnar database or any database, right? Any database for that matter, and you're trying to create reports out of it. Now, when you're creating reports, as I told you in the previous session, every report has to load in 5 seconds, isn't it? So this is the industry standard, right? Every report or dashboard that you are making should definitely load within 5 seconds. If it is not loading within 5 seconds, that is not a ideal report. So you have to go debug and do a lot of stuff to figure out why it is taking a longer time. So most of the time in your job as a data analyst or any insight analyst or any data related job, 30% of the time you're going to do reports and dashboards, but remaining 70% of the time you're going to maintain the existing infrastructure, right? And you're going to debug the reports, right? And you're going to do the performance optimization, query optimizations, right? Query optimization and all of this. And you're trying to understand a business problem, right? So 70% of the time you're going to be a maintenance guy, right? For an organization, you're not maintaining their servers, but whatever the job as a data analyst you're doing, 30% of the time is to connect to the data sources and then do the reporting and dashboarding, but remaining 70% of the time you're a maintenance guy. Remember that. So to maintain a system, right, to maintain a system, what should you know? That's what you need to ask at this point of time. So for example, there is a car, right? You bought a car, but you need to maintain it, isn't it? So you just bought the car and you keep on driving it. It is not going to work like that, right? In reality. So you need to maintain it properly so that your car runs smoothly. So how do you maintain it? You'll definitely go to the mechanic, right? You will definitely go to the mechanic, or you'll go to the showroom. Who is the showroom, guys? Again, you are the guy, right? Data analytics. In the terms of data analytics and business intelligence, you are the mechanic. So companies will definitely need to maintain their infrastructure. To maintain their infrastructure efficiently, they will definitely need people to work on their existing infrastructure. So you definitely have to know all of these things. One second, sorry about this. Here is this. Okay, let's continue with our session. So to be able to maintain a system properly, you definitely need to understand what is going on behind the scenes, right? What does a mechanic do? When you take your car to mechanic, he's going to look into he's going to look into where exactly the problem is happening, what should be done, and everything. To do that, he needs to know inner workings of the car. So that is what I'm here to teach you. Again, if you have any queries, if you have any questions related to business intelligence, data analytics, please reach out to me on datacloudsolutions.co.uk. You can go to my website, look into my BA solutions page and look into, have a glimpse of what exactly I do, right? How my portfolio is looking. And also you can reach out to me on contact at the rate Data Cloud Solutions for any other queries. Any queries if you have related to business intelligence and data analytics, you can reach out to me. And when it comes to today's session, so before we understand VertiPaq engine, before we understand columnar database, let's understand what is the process. First, let's understand the outline, like what is the process here, how Power BI is going to create reports and dashboard that loads faster. So now what exactly does, when you connect your Power BI to any database, right? Any database, it can be data warehouse, right? It can be cube, right? Anything. You're going to take some of the data, because you're not going to take all the data, because Power BI will not support terabytes of data, right? Maximum you can take GBs of data into the Power BI. Again, it depends on what kind of hardware you have on your PC, right? So for example, you're connecting to database, right? And then you're making your own model. You're trying to take some amount of data, because obviously you will not be able to take terabytes of data, as I told you, right? Why we only have to take some data? Because as a data analyst or Power BI expert, you're trying to solve a business problem, right? You're trying to solve a business problem, and you're trying to bring some solutions and insights into those particular business problems. So you will not be taking whole data, you will be only looking for the data that requires to solve this business problem, right? So that will be tiny amount of data, maybe in GBs. Okay. So now you will take, let's take an example. You will take 10 GB of data, right? 10 GB of data. And obviously Power BI cannot take 10 GB of data. For example, if you are running 4 GB RAM on your PC, right? So Power BI has to convert or compress this 10 GB data into at least 1 GB data, so that it can store it can store the data on your computer's RAM. Why we are using RAM? RAM is very fast, right? That is why your computer runs fast. Why your computer runs fast? Why how your OS actually operates within your system is due because of RAM. The higher the RAM, the faster the processing, right? The faster the computer's performance. So that is why we can connect to cube, right? But cube is stored on hard drive, right? So cube, as I told you in the last session, cube is all about summarized data, right? Cube is all about connecting the cube to data warehouse. So data warehouse is huge, and you can't be performing a lot of operations on it. So that is why we created cube, where everything, every permutation and combination, multi-dimensional cube is created. Every permutation and combination is done on the cube. And every figure, some min max aggregated values and everything will be stored inside the cube, and you can directly connect to the cube and do your analysis, right? That is why we created cube. Now, why do we have cube, but why do we have to import data? When we can't we directly connect Power BI to cube? We can do it, but in live mode, right? There are two connection types in Power BI. To connect Power BI to data, right? Any data, there are two methods. One is live, right? And another one is import, right? So when to use what? That's the question again. Like Now let's understand why we use live method, right? For example, if we want to do real-time analysis, we should be depending on live because we need live data. For example, you're watching a cricket, right? So in the cricket match, every ball is being displayed on the TV, right? So what is this ball? First ball 4, 6, or first ball 2D or 1D, like that. So this is a live data, right? This is a live data. So this live data needs to be connected in certain situations, right? But you will only connect to high performing data warehouses using live connection, because obviously if you connect live connection to low performing databases like the small databases, medium scale databases, they are not going to respond properly. There is going to be a lot of there is going to be sorry for that there is going to be a lot of latency. There's going to be a performance issue, then there will be a problem. So that is why when we are choosing live connection, we have to go with either Synapse, right? There are few data warehouses in the market right now which can perform faster due to their hardware capabilities, right? So these data warehouses such as Synapse, or we also have another data warehouse which is Snowflake, and these two data warehouses are high performing data warehouses. That means you can connect Power BI to them with live connection without any problems, and the performance will be faster, equal to how you are importing the data, and how VertiPaq engine is creating a columnar database, and hence the performance is better. So when it comes to import method, right? When we will use import method, because when we are connecting to low performing databases, we can't be doing more transactions. We can't be doing more operations on this SQL server, right? So that is why we want to take some amount of data out of it, right? Using import method, we will import that some amount of data, and then we will we will put it in the Power BI. Now what does Power BI do? As per our example, we are taking 10 GB of data, right? Now we are taking 10 GB of data from a low performing database, right? You are taking 10 GB of data. Now what Power BI quickly does is, it is going to use a powerful engine called VertiPaq engine, and it is going to compress the 10 GB of data into 1 GB of data, right? And then it is going to store it on your local computer RAM, and then from there Power BI will access it faster. Because RAM is faster, Power BI is able to perform faster and create faster on the fly DAX equations. You can perform on the fly DAX equations. You can perform on the fly analysis without any delay or virtually zero delay. Okay, so that is why the reason behind the faster performance of Power BI or Tableau, any BI tool, is behind the scenes is columnar database, right? Columnar database, and how VertiPaq engine actually compresses the data. Now we understood the story behind how Power BI actually able to, you know, do the analysis within 5 seconds, right? Making sure that the reports and dashboards are loading within 5 seconds. How it is happening because of the VertiPaq engine and columnar database. Now let's understand basically what is a tabular database. Why we need to use columnar database instead of tabular database, right? We have tabular database, right? Why should we have to go and do columnar database, right? So let's understand why columnar database is important, right? Now what do I mean by tabular database, right? There is a data warehouse, right? There's a data warehouse, and within the data warehouse we have various tables, right? We store various tables. Now these tables are connected with a logical relationship. What is the logical relationship? That is called dimensional modeling, right? So in the front end applications, to design a database in the front end applications, we use something called ER. diagram. So what is ER diagram? This is called entity relationship diagram. This process is followed in the front end applications, because we are in the front end applications, we are storing the data. Sorry about that. So in the front end applications, we are actually we are actually writing the data, right? We are actually writing the data from user end. So users are using the applications and they are writing the data. So while writing the data, we need a different design which can be smoothly run on any application. That is why we will use entity relationship diagram process here. Now, here what we are doing in data warehouse is only used to read the data. We are not writing any data here. This is a historical data, right? We will not be changing any historical data. Like we are not going to be, we are not going back in time and changing something. Like this is not a Avengers movie, right? We cannot go like that and we cannot change any data. So hence data warehouse is a historical data warehouse. Historical data, we will not be able to do any changes here. That is why we will use dimensional modeling here, which is faster. Dimensional modeling to retrieve the data. To read the data faster, we will use this dimensional modeling here. Here at the front end, there will be a lot of tables. Right here, front end, there will be a lot of tables. But in the back end, like not in the back end, everything is front end, but in data warehouse, the tables will be very less because we don't have to do the joining of the tables. Right here, joining happens, but here we should not be using joinings because joining is a costly operation in any organization. We will not be doing joins a lot. If we do joins a lot, that means you're inherently creating a problem, right? Your performance is going to be down when you're using a lot of joins because you're joining table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, and logically that whole table has to join. I mean, those tables should be joined and a whole table is created, and then on top of it you're doing all the calculations, which is going to create a huge mess. That is why when reading the data, it is ideal to do a dimensional modeling. So like I don't want to get more detailed information into dimensional modeling and ER modeling, which is a different topic altogether. And it is very important when you're designing a data warehouse. Like you are the architect to design the data warehouse and front end applications. That's when we should be focusing on this. Let's understand the core concept that we are trying to understand today. So columnar database and tabular. What is tabular database? Database, as I told you, this tabular database is like a data warehouse, and within the data warehouse, these tables are connected with logical links, like relationships, one to many, many to many, many to one, etc. So now, what is a tabular database? Tabular database consists of tables, right? What does table consist of? Table consists of rows and columns, right? So that much we know. And when multiple tables are connected together, that is called tabular database, right? So when we are writing a query, let's take an example and then try to understand this. So let's write this query here, right? So we are writing this query. What are we writing? Select star from employees where name, like customer name, like A. That means we want to run this query on this table within the data warehouse, right? We want to run this query. Now this query is running within the SQL Server. Data warehouse is nothing but SQL Server, isn't it? So the SQL Server is required to run this query. We ran this query using SSMS, which is an tool that is provided by Microsoft. So you can actually manage your whole databases using SSMS, SQL Server Management System. So you wrote this query. Now you're running it into the database. Now the database needs to check, right? We only want the customers whose name starts with A. We don't want the customers whose name starts with B, C, anything. We only want customers whose name starts with A. Now the data in the data warehouse is not sorted properly. So first there is a B. The customer name starts with B, maybe Becca, or maybe Beckham, or someone, right, whose name starts with B. And the second one starts with again B, and the third one starts with again let's say V, and the fourth one starts with, fourth row starts with again, let's say C, and the fifth row is actually starting with A. Now there is something called, when we write a query and when we shoot that query to the SQL server, how does SQL server actually look at the data? Let's see that right now. Okay, so when we write the query and fire that, there is something called table scanning happening behind the scenes, right? So what is table scanning? Table scanning is nothing but, by default, SQL server has this functionality, table scanning. So what does table scanning do? Okay, it will go to this row and it says, okay, this name is starting with B, so it will read all the row here. Okay, first row it will read, right? And then it will think, okay, this is not the A, so let's move on. It will read second one. Okay, this is also not starting with A, so let's move on. So again it goes to the third row, fourth row, and fifth row, and so on. And then when it finds the name that starts with A, then it will bring back that row to you in the result set, right? But what we are doing here, if you carefully observe, to get to this row, right, we are wasting these many reads. 1 2 3 4 5 reads we have wasted. Now imagine this table is just tiny table, but if the data is scattered, like in heap manner, if the data is scattered, right, scattered in millions of rows, then how does table scan get you the data? It is going to be a huge task, and your query is going to either crash. It is going to get you the data, right, but it might, there are chances that it might crash, but it is very rare. But there is a huge delay. If you observe, there is a huge delay here. Keep on reading, keep on reading, keep on reading. For example, it's like if you want to read a book. Let's take an example, right? But you have already read few chapters from it. Now you want to start from fifth chapter, right? There is no page, there is no first page, such as preface or something, index. There is an index page, right? So that page is not available. Now you have to look for the each page for the fifth chapter. Is this fifth chapter? Is this fifth chapter? Is this fifth chapter? Like that, your time is going to waste. Now that is just a small tiny book. It's gonna be okay. But if you are doing this operation using table scan, it is going to be a huge costly operation for your organization, and reports is not going to load, and everything crashes, and your manager will be not happy. So he's going to cry, and you're going to cry, so the whole organization is going to cry. That is why there is something called index. So they have introduced indexes. INDX, index. There's something called index. This concept, let's not dive deep into this concept. Let's quickly understand simply, right? So your friend actually asked you to come to his birthday party, right, to his home. Now he has given you the address, right? He is living in a gated community. Let's say he's living in a gated community, and he has given you the address of the gated community. But when you have entered the gated community, you have to go through each and every home to find out which home, right, which home the party is going on. Now this is going to be a huge waste of time, right? That is why there is a index concept. The indexes are nothing but pointers to the actual data. And that when we create indexes on columns, it is going to give you a huge performance boost. And almost it makes every query that you are firing, it makes it even faster, quicker, right? So now we understood what is tabular database. Tabular database is nothing but, we have to go row by row, row by row, row by row, and we have to find the information, and then we have to give the result set. This is a whole point of tabular model. Now let's understand the columnar database, right? Tabular database we understood now. Let's understand the columnar database. Why it is called columnar database. Now, if we wrote this query, right? If we wrote this query, let's write a simple query. Let's try to write a simple query. Imagine this is a customer. Imagine this is a customer table. Okay, this is a customer table, and now we want to know what is the sum of sales for each customer. What we will say, select customer name, comma, sum of sales as sales, or let's say total sales from customer table and group by customer name. Now what this query is doing, right? Let's understand what this query is doing. This query is going to be, taking this query is going to go to the table, and it is going to query each customer, right, row by row. Normally if we use table scan, but if you are using columnar database, what exactly it does is, it is going to take first, okay, we used the user has used only two columns here. One is customer name and one is sales column. So rather than like reading all this row by row, I will only take customer column till here, right? Because this information is already there in this customer column, and sales column is somewhere here, and I will only take data from sales column. Now bringing these two columns together, creating a visualization in Power BI, right? So now here, if you carefully observe, columnar database is when you let's say when you import the data, when you use the import method from Power BI, import method, when you import the data, what exactly happening is VertiPaq engine is going to convert the data, whatever the imported data, into columns. It is going to divide your data into columns, right? Each column is unique, right? So that is why when you are using VertiPaq engine, when you are using Power BI, the performance is faster, because it is going to take this column, it is going to take this column, and then it is going to combine data from these two columns only. It is not going to touch these all in between columns. It is a waste of time. So because of this waste of time is eliminated by choosing only one column from here, one column from here. Hence the performance is faster in Power BI. So how exactly it is choosing, right? Normally table is table, and table has a rows and columns, that we know. But how exactly this is going to choose one column from here, one column from here? That is a trick, right? That is the trick the Power BI and Microsoft uses using VertiPaq engine. So what does VertiPaq engine do? We know now columnar database is nothing but one table is split into multiple columns, right? But the data is same, isn't it? If you're importing 10 GB data, the 10 GB data should be in the columnar database. Why only 1 GB data? Now let's discuss that compression in detail. Okay, so now let's understand. We are importing this table. We are importing, there's a data called product data, sales amount, and their region, and we are importing this table into Power BI. Right. Now exactly what columnar database does is, it is going to encode the data. So it is going to encode all this data, right? What is encoding? How exactly the encoding is working? Let's take a simple example first, and then we will look into the actual example. This is the actual example. Let's look into the simple example now. Okay. So as you guys know, this is maybe maybe few people don't know, but for them also it is very important to understand. Now I will give you a simple example. You and your friend actually met somewhere after years, right? Now your phone is dead, right? He's in he's in hurry, he wants to go. Now you asked him that, hey, give me your phone number. Now you can't take you can't note it down fastly. What you will do, you'll automatically use your brain, isn't it? We all have brains, we will definitely use it. And our brain is nothing but our RAM memory, isn't it? So now what you will do, you will use your brain, and using your brain you will remember the number. That is fine. How you are remembering this number? He's going to give you this number, right? 10 digits code. Now behind the scenes, for each number there is a combination of code that computer generates, right? So how the computer generates this is called binary language. So computers only understand the binary language, right? We are not talking about quantum computing. Quantum computing is nothing but a different topic altogether. Quantum computing doesn't use binary format. It uses a different format, which is called qubits, quantum bits. So normal classical computers are going to mainly use bits and bytes of data, right? Bits and bytes. So what does bits and bytes consist of? Bits and bytes consist of binary language. And when your friend gave you a number, right, you can remember this number, but to make this number remembered by the computer, you need to have a binary code for that. Now, you know, this code is actually a computer readable code, right? But this one you can easily read. Now here, you are the VertiPaq engine. You are the VertiPaq engine. Your friend is actually giving you this data, this much data, right? You have compressed the data into 10 numbers only to be easily understood and fastly retrieved from your brain, isn't it? Same concept. Let's apply on this table. Now, what exactly VertiPaq engine is doing is when you import the data, quickly VertiPaq engine starts doing the encoding. Encoding is nothing but, for example, we have different products here, isn't it? Product apple, banana, orange, and unique. These are the first VertiPaq engine will take unique values from this product column, and it is going to assign a number to it. So apple 0, banana 1, and orange 2. Now tell me, is it which one is easier to remember? Is it 0, 1, 2, 3 or apple, banana, orange? Right. So if you ask this question, obviously 0, 1, 2, 3 is easy to remember, like the phone number, right? Like the phone number, 10 digits, easy to remember. Rather than remembering the binary code of it, it is easy to remember 10 digits of number. Same way, Power BI is going to encode all the columns like this, all the columns. First, it will look into this column and it will take the unique values and it is going to create unique numbering encoding to it. And then it is going to convert all this table into coded table like this. Now this coded table along with this table is going to be stored on your RAM, right? So your Power BI, right? Your Power BI is going to store this table and this table onto your RAM, right? This table and this table, but the structure will be different, right? Because we are compressing, it is going to take this one, right? It is going to take this column, this column, and this column. It is going to separate all these columns and it is going to keep the occurrences, right? For example, apple is occurring how many times? 1, 2, 2 times. So apple 2 times. And sale amount 100 is how many times it is repeating? 1 and 2. So sale amount 100 comma 2, right? This is compressed version of this data. Now, by doing this compression, it will become very easy for Power BI to do the calculations. For example, we write DAX, data analytics expressions, inside the Power BI. So how these DAX functions are working that much faster behind the scenes, this is what happening. With the help of VertiPaq engine, with the help of Columnar database, we are skipping from first column all the way to the last column, right? All the way to the last column. And we are making easy connection between these two columns by encoding the data. That is the beauty of Power BI or any other data tool. For example, in Tableau, there is something called Hyper Engine, right? Same engine, but the functionality might be different behind the scenes, but the same functionality. Like whatever the VertiPaq engine is doing, the Hyper engine in Tableau is also doing the same thing. And in Looker also, Google, the tool Looker comes from the Google. So Looker also uses the same logic. So if you understand the basics of the business intelligence, you will be able to understand any tool, right? Any tool in the market related to the business intelligence, you will be able to understand. It's not a big deal. You can move from Power BI to Tableau like within the weeks, within weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, it will take to move from Power BI to Tableau. And from Tableau to Power BI, it will take only 2 to 3 weeks. That's it. Within the weeks, you can jump from one tool to another tool if you understand these basic concepts, right? If you don't understand these basic concepts, and if you fall prey to the people who say that we will teach you 15 minutes data analytics, and within 30 minutes I'll teach you Power BI, that is a trash. I'm telling you, this is the first time that I'm telling you, this is a huge pitfall that you're going to fall in, right? So now we understood what is tabular database, we understood what is columnar database, we understood what the VertiPaq engine does behind the scenes, and we also understood how exactly this VertiPaq engine encodes the data, right? So that it can access faster by the Power BI, and how exactly the encoding happens, and all of these concepts. Remember, why I'm saying these many times is because if you understand the basics properly, you will be able to do 70% of the job. Right. For example, if you bought the car, right? If you bought a car, right? It doesn't mean you can drive it. Only you know how to drive. That's when you will be able to drive a car. You cannot simply get the car from the, you cannot simply get the car from the showroom and ask him to drive itself. Although we have Tesla these days, but I'm only talking about cars that, that wants humans to drive. So I hope you understand the concepts very well, and I hope you can, try to think about why this is happening. And, I hope you understand all these concepts very well. And because if you understand these concepts, it will be very easy. I'm saying you dead easy. It will be dead easy to understand any tool in the market right now. So let's end this session here today, and my video is going to come back again in next 1 week. Okay, so every week I'm going to upload few videos like this which are very informative, and helps people to understand easily given the perspectives, easy perspectives, right? So I always think that everyone has brain, everyone can understand any complicated thing, but the way they look at it makes it difficult for them, right? So for example, a person can think about something in 3 ways, but the same person, uh, but the different person can think about same topic for 2 ways, and the same person who thought in 3 ways or 4 ways, the same person can think about a different topic in only 2 ways. So there is no, there is no such thing as, you can't understand anything. Myself was not able to understand all of these things. I have to break down all these things. First of all, I had to understand the behind the scenes, what exactly happening, the core concepts of this. Then only I was able to understand the complex SQL server, complex SQL queries, and advanced SQL queries like CTEs, subqueries, table variables like temp tables, global tables, right? These are all the complex window functions. These are all the complex advanced functions, advanced concepts, indexes, all of them you will be able to understand, but you need to give some time. First, you need to go step by step. It is very important in IT that you need to go step by step. If you don't go step by step, if you want to learn within 2 hours, 3 hours, that is definitely not going to be helpful. Of course, that being said, if you have 1 year experience or 2 year experience, extensive hands-on experience, and you have explored all of the tools capabilities, then only you will be able to understand those YouTube videos. So I hope this helps you guys. And if you have any queries, again, you can always reach out to me on datacloudsolutions.co.uk. You can submit a form there with your interest, and you can also contact me on contact@datacloudsolutions.co.uk. And you can also uh, you know do comments, right? You can also leave a comment on this video, and I will be able to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.